You're listening to The Hikam with Shaykh Zahir Bacchus of the Lotri Foundation. In this podcast, Shaykh Zahir explains the aphorisms from Ibn Ata'illah's famous book of wisdoms, Al-Hikam Al-Ata'iyah, a classical manual of spiritual development. Visit seekershub.org for online courses, our reliable answer service, and engaging media.
Who passed away. He's talking about, as we talked about yesterday, those who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in which their closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, know that there is no Lord, no deity, no one to call upon except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, may Allah be pleased with him and his father, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he says the fa'lama, this knowledge, this word that Allah uses, fa'lam, that it means fa'rif, it means come to know, meaning come to realize that there's no Lord except Allah. What is the difference between fa'lam and fa'rif? What is the difference between ilm and arif, and the one who knows? The ilm, knowledge is when you have information, it becomes knowledge. You gain it. It's knowledge. When you realize it in itself, that's when it becomes thabit in you, and it comes to know something. These are things that are untangible or intangible. Things that are intangible, you become steeped in it, meaning that you have realization in it. What is the realization of that there's no Lord except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The realization of it is that no matter what happens in this world, that one knows expressly and implicitly that it came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing that one does is seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or ask Allah. One automatically asks Allah. So when Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, the Prophet ﷺ told him one day, he was riding in with a group of companions, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma was there with him, and he says, the Prophet ﷺ told him, he says, come, inni wa'allimuka kalimat, that I'm going to teach you some words, convey to you some words. And the Prophet ﷺ says to him, ihfadillah ya'fudhuka, ihfadillah tajidhu amamak, or tajahik. There's two narrations. Then the Prophet, protect Allah or safeguard Allah, and Allah will protect you. Safeguarding means keep within the limits that Allah has set. Safeguarding Allah, we safeguard Allah, we protect Allah by what? By not going to the fringes of, or the borders of what is permissible. We don't go to the borders of what is permissible. Why? Of the fear that we fall into the impermissible. We don't go to the border of, like the makruh, the things that are disliked. We do not perform, or we should not perform the things that are disliked. Why? Because it could take you into the haram. It can take you to the haram. It's, for instance, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that be mindful of the tongue. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, take care of this limb, this adu. The tongue is a limb. The Prophet ﷺ held on to it and said, beware of it, because it can lead you to the fire. How? How is the tongue going to lead you to the fire? It will lead you to the fire if you talk a lot. The more you speak, the more it can take you to the haram. The more, because you may not be careful with what you are saying. So in this particular hadith, the Prophet is saying this, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَسَلِ اللَّهِ, and when you ask Allah. وَإِذَا إِسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَئِنْ بِاللَّهِ, and when you seek help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who has realization of their Lord, is the one, no matter, even if they're asking someone, in the end, they are going to ask Allah first. So if they're standing on the corner waiting for a taxi, they're going to ask Allah, oh Allah, send me a taxi. But they're going to take the means of flagging the taxi down. Or they go to the store to buy groceries, they're going to say, oh Allah, provide for me. As they're going around picking up grocery items, oh Allah, provide for me. Or they're going to thank Allah after they pick it up and they buy it, oh Allah, thank you. They have gratitude in their heart for Allah allowing them to eat or to buy food. So they see everything, there's no means that is outside of what Allah has given to them. They see all means as coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the one who knows. That is the one who knows. He realizes what? He realizes Iman. The one who has the realization of Iman is the one who is not going to... people are on different levels. There are those who, when a problem comes to them, they are going to try to solve it themselves. There are mu'mineen like this. There are those who, if a problem comes, they will try to solve it. And at the end, when they can't solve it, they will earnestly ask Allah. They'll come to the masjid, they'll go to wherever, they'll ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They may increase in their salah, they may read Quran more or whatnot, they may be more vigilant in the acts of ibadah, in the acts of worship. But because they have exhausted themselves from finding a solution, the one who has realization, the first thing he does or she does is to ask Allah. First thing. The first thing that comes to their heart, ask Allah. First thing. The first thing they do, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ, and this is known, when he received news of deaths of his companion, this is in the hadith material, he used to do what? Pray first. He used to pray. That's what he used to do, the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, the companions themselves, it's narrated that once they heard, or they were journeying, or they heard that one of their companions had died, they would fall into prayer. They would fall into prayer. They would go immediately into prayer. Because that is how they handle everything. They went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost. That is the reality that they had. The reality that they had, they lived. The reality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was primary. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they knew in their heart, they knew that it's Allah who is in charge of every single affair. Every single affair. And so when a person knows that Allah is in charge of every single affair, it's different than the one who believes in Allah. It's different. The one who merely just believes in Allah. The one who knows wholeheartedly that Allah is in charge of his affair or her affair is different than the one who just knows that Allah is one. It's on a plateau. They are different. They're on the same path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're all on the same Sirat al-Mustaqim. But there are those who are on different closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are. And it's due to their work. It's due to their sincerity. It's due to their level of taqwa. It's due to who they may surround themselves with. It's due to the way that they conduct themselves. It's due to the way that they have, that their khuluq is, their character is. It's due to the way their demeanor is. It's due to the way that they deal with people, how they handle people. It's due to the way that they have composure amongst people. Or it's due to the way of the environment that they surround themselves with. So they're on different levels in the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Some are journeying closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some are journeying fast. some are walking, some are on different paces. Some are on different paces. It's a matter of what the person wants. What does the person want? What does the person want? Is as the example that they give, the example of the salah, as we talked about. There are those who come to salah to fulfill the fard. And this is a valid, you fulfill the fard to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there are those who pray the salah because they want not only fulfill the fard, but they want the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They want the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so those who they're not just merely fulfilling the fard, the obligation of the salah. They want the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so in their salah, they're looking for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're looking for it. And so they are, so they cleanse themselves and they look forward to the salah because they know that they're able to speak to their Lord. They're able to speak to their Lord in the best of speeches, in the speech of the Quran. They're able to conduct themselves and to ask of their Lord and to seek of their Lord through His very words. His very words. And so they are happy for the salah to come. They're happy for the salah to come. And they anticipate the next salah. They can't wait for the next salah to come. They anticipate it. And they anticipate it. And they wait for it in anticipation of them meeting and conversing with their Lord again. They anticipate the conversation with their Lord again. And so this is the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who has realization. So he talks about, yesterday he talked about happiness, basat and qabd. The basat and qabd, the qabd is constriction, the heart is constricted. You know, the heart has some sadness or difficulty. Something didn't go the person's way. An aim was not met. A goal that they set was not met. It was not achieved. This is qabd. So the heart constricts. The heart constricts. It becomes qasi. And the Prophet ﷺ talked about the heart that is qasi or hard. The spiritual heart, that the Prophet, the heart of the ruh, of the spirit. He talks about the hard heart, the heart that is hard, qasi. The Prophet ﷺ, the heart that becomes hard, what softens this? Dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In any form, recitation of Quran, salah, helping others, giving in sadaqah, whatever is done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is dhikr of Allah, that is the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's what brings the heart softness, brings the heart to become soft. Meaning that the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala flows in it. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expands the heart. So the heart that is in qabd, the heart that is constricted, contracted, is the heart that is sad. There's sadness over it because of some aim that wasn't met, some purpose, or some goal was not achieved. Some goal was not achieved. Or one feels let down or downcasted because of something that one wanted or desire and it was not brought forth. So the heart has qabd. Bast is the other end of the spectrum. Basat is when the heart is elated or the heart is happy. There's happiness. The person is in a state of happiness. Why is the person in a state of happiness? The person is in a state of happiness because something was achieved or they felt closeness to Allah. They felt close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or they had the realization, it came to them, the realization that Allah is their Lord. And it hit them, confronted them. And so in this state, the state of elation, what would someone prefer? The state of qabd or the state of basat? The state of elation. And so he answers it. He answers it. Because we're all between fear and hope. the believers are always in between these two states. They're either fearful or they're hopeful. They're fearful of punishment or they're hopeful of Jannah. They're hopeful of Jannah. And so a person who commits wrong, the person who has a tendency to commit wrong, what type of state should Allah put him in to stop him from committing wrong? Fear. Fear of what? Punishment. Fear of punishment. Someone who's doing a lot of wrong, how do you try to help them? Help them by, if they're committing wrong, they may need fear to stop them from doing the wrong. The fear of punishment. That you should be careful about not doing this, saying this, and so on and so forth, because the punishment of Allah is severe. The punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe. The person who wants to come back into the practice of the deen, but they don't know where to start. Or they're afraid that so many wrong that they committed that they're going to be punished, and there's nothing that they can do to avoid it. They need hope. They need raja. They need to be given the lesson of hope. The lesson of hope is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful, and He forgives all sins. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives all sins, as He tells us, except shirk, except giving partners to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or believing that Allah has a co-share in His attributes. So this is the person. So what state is the one who knows that that would be the one that they are most fearful of falling into? The state of basat, the state of happiness. Why? Or elation. So he says, العارفون إذا بسطوا أخوفوا منهم إذا قبضوا ولا يقف على حدود الأدب في البسط إلا قليل. So he says, the ones who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the knowers of Allah, what happened? The ones who are realized in that, and they're on the path to Sirat, they're on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, and their feet are embedded in it. Their feet are firmly attached to it. What happens to them? He says that they're more fearful or more afraid when elated, when happy. They're more fearful when happy than they are when they are sad or when they are downcasted. They're more afraid when they're elated, when they're happy. Because why? Because those who keep to the limits of good manners are very few. Those who keep to the limits when they're happy and everything's going their way, when those people who keeps to the limits of when they're in happy state, when they're in a state of happiness, are very few people who keep to the adab, to the limits, to the limits of adab, of good manners. When they're elated are very few. Why? Because when you are happy and everything is going your way, you may be less cautious of the shaitan. When you're extremely happy, everything is going your way. When everything is going your way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He facilitates everything. Everything is going your way. Allah has facilitated everything for you. And you're happy. You're extremely happy. Extremely happy. What is the tendency of this person? The tendency of this person is to let down his guard. That's the tendency. The tendency of this person is to let down their guard. To let down their guard. However, when one is sad, downcasted, something is not achieved, some goal is not met, one is more vigilant, or one is normally more vigilant of one's Lord. When are people more conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? In ease or in difficulty? Difficulty. And this is across the board of any faith. Whatever faith someone professes, when are they more conscious of their Lord? When? When are people more conscious of their Lord? In the state of difficulty. In the state of difficulty. Because why? Because they run back to their Lord for relief. They run back to their Lord in relief. That's why you have, in hospitals, you have faith rooms. In hospitals, you have faith rooms. You have rooms in hospital for people to go pray in. They're multi-faith rooms now. You have prayer rooms a prayer room they have a cross in it for the Christians. The Jews may have something. The Muslims have a room and mats in all of the hospitals. Why? Because people, when they go to the hospital or they visit someone, because of that loss, they're not elated. When you go to the hospital, you're not in happiness. You are sad. You are constricted because someone that you love is in the hospital. What do? Pray. When is the person closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When they are in extreme poverty to Allah. When they're in extreme need to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That need is coupled with what? A difficulty. That need is coupled with a difficulty. When does someone find need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When everything is going their way? No. When everything is, no, they're not. It's when everything is not going their way. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, many places, that the ones who are grateful are very few. The ones who are grateful, the ones who have gratitude are very qaleel, very, very few. Very few people are grateful. Qalilan min ash-shakirin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Qalilan min ash-shakirin. Very few people are grateful. Why? Because people, when everything is going their way, what do? They forget their master. People, everything going their way, what happens? They forget. They forget their master. They forget their Lord. They forget their Lord. And so the ones who know, they're more fearful of those states. They're more fearful of a state of great jubilation or elation or happiness because they know what happens. They know that the limits can be passed of having good manners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or forgetfulness can happen. And that's bad manners. To forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be in a state of ghafla, is bad manners of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because it can lead to sin. When one is forgetful, it can lead to sin. So some of the righteous people of the past, it is narrated that they were more fearful of Allah when difficulty didn't come to them, when they were in a state of happiness and goodness and everything was going their way. They were fearful of Allah. They were more afraid of that state than the state of constriction or the state in which difficulty came. Because they knew that a difficulty will keep their heart attached and a heart going forward, and they would keep asking on their tongue for relief. They would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for relief. And so this is the knowers, this is what he says, the knowers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The key is even in elation, that one is grateful to Allah. And that one does not change, whether Allah grants you everything you want and desire, or whether He withholds something from you. You should not change in your salah, or you should not change in your acts of devotion to Him. So if you started to read in a difficulty, if you have difficulty, and people come to the masjid, you come to the masjid, they have difficulties, they come to the masjid. And they stay maybe longer in the masjid when they have difficulty. Okay, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieves you of that difficulty, what are you going to do? Disappear. What are they going to do? Disappear. What are they going to do? Run away from the mosque, spend less time in the mosque. Perhaps Allah relieved it because you took that step towards Him. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieved it of it because you took that step towards Him. Perhaps that's why He relieved it. And so you're removing the means of why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perhaps He granted you. So are you going to remove it then? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find you into that state again perhaps. So the believer, how does he keep from falling into a state of ghafla or crossing the limits of good adab when he's in elation, when everything is going well? Continue what you were doing when you were asking of Him, of when you were in constriction, or when you were in sadness, or when something was not going well for you. Continue doing what you did then. And if you increase your salah, keep it. If you increase the recitation of Quran, keep it. If you had a certain thing you were doing, do it. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says about the muhsineen. The muhsineen are the ones who are muhsin. They have ihsan. They seek excellence with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're seeking excellence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَيُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَعَافِينَ لِلنَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says what? وَيُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ. They're the ones who give in prosperity and adversity. The muhsineen give in all their state, in adversity and prosperity. Well, He says prosperity first. Sarra. Sarra is when the heart has surur. Sarra, when it's in good place. Surur is happiness. Sarra, same, comes from the same root. When in prosperity they give. Wadarra, and they give in adversity. They don't change. Muhsineen doesn't change. They don't change at all. They don't change. They are the same. Whether the entire world is on their shoulders or it's relieved from them, they don't change. In what? In what they put forth to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how one stays. And the arifun are the ones who realize it, and so they become more fearful and they keep up to what they do in all of their states. They do the same and they just seek increase. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us and guide us, forgive us, have mercy upon us, forgive our elders, our parents, give them good health and long life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve, protect us, protect our children, grant them success in this world and the next world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and protect our children, grant us success. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are passed away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon them, forgiveness, and give them His shade. On that day was no shade except His. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are sick or ailing, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heal them, cure them, nurse them back to good health, give them remedy. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our homes are amongst the homes of the believers, and make our last words our very best words. Subhanaka wa hamdik, shara wa la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.
Thank you for listening to The Hikam with Shaykh Zahir Bacchus. Help Seekers Hub spread the light of guidance to millions around the world by supporting us through monthly donations by going to seekershub.org/donate. Your donations are tax deductible in the US and Canada.